Skills around the corner. Walking on the fighting side of me. It don't go down.
Robert, it goes down.
No, it don't.
It goes down.
Oh!
That's pretty good. I wonder where that's from though. No, I don't recognize that.
Very complicated relationship with Jojo's Bizzare Adventure. I do not particularly like Jojo's Bizzare Adventure, and this is something that surprises people, because we all know how Jojo's fans are.
After 2.5 long years of waiting, 9 if you start counting from season 1, which I know a lot of JoJo diehards have been, the anime adaptation of JoJo's Bizzare Adventure Part 6, Stone Ocean, has finally been announced.
Well, I guess it's time for me to watch JoJo's. So I finally watched JoJo's Bizzare Adventure, and it's about time too because it's always been on my radar, but I've always just kind of ignored it and then I completely forgot about it. But I've said this near enough every video now. I am still pretty much new to anime, so my measuring palette may be completely different to yours, blah blah blah. I'm not even sure if I can even say that anymore. I'm literally buying manga now, like look at this. I even got the Boruto manga and I'm actually enjoying it. I might actually do a review for that too. I've watched more anime since starting this channel, I've been reading other mangas, but look, I'm still trying to increase my anime palette. I'm getting there. I'm still not an anime enthusiast, but I'm definitely getting there. So hopefully my judge for anime has improved a lot more, should I say. So about JoJo's, how was it? This is not a review, these are more my thoughts, because reviewing something like this is kind of difficult. But I'll go into it a bit more later. Going into this, I was skeptical. I remember seeing my favorite YouTubers say they didn't really enjoy it, but I wasn't going to completely dismiss it, because even today, I haven't watched that Cosmonaut video, mainly because I always knew I'd get to it. I don't completely dismiss things usually, I usually just put them at the bottom of my list. And I saw the community get hyped for Stone Ocean, which is part 6, so I thought, why not start now? So I went into this mostly blind, but I tried to be anyway. The hardest part about getting into JoJo's was probably trying to find where to actually start. I heard the show was split up into parts, so all I needed to do was find part 1, right? Yeah, I don't think I got the right part. Luckily, after doing a little bit more research, I found a Reddit thread showing me how to watch JoJo's properly. But that OVA episode definitely spiked my interest. How old actually is JoJo's? Because that OVA looked really old. JoJo was written by a man called
Hirohiko Araki
in 1987, but didn't get adapted till 2012. It was weird that this took so long to get adapted, but you probably aren't here for the backstory of JoJo's. That's definitely a video for another time. Right now, I'm going to give you my thoughts of this 150 episode anime in 10 minutes or so. So let's get into it. Here's how I'm going to structure this video. I'm going to talk about part 1 first because JoJo's part 1 sets up a foundation for the series as a whole. Right from the bat, I should not have liked this at all. I hate to start off negative, but in the first 5 minutes, I knew this wasn't my type of show. If you see my videos in the past, you know my favorite saying is, I enjoy the show me don't tell me technique. This is my favorite type of storytelling. The type of storytelling JoJo has, it's super surface level. It's literally the complete opposite of everything I like in terms of storytelling. A critical mind like mine, not to sound like a dick, should not enjoy something like this. I like to peel things back, look for the depth, interpretate things my own way and argue about it with the fans. The narration explaining characters' backstories, characters explaining their actions, the story just being, well, super surface level. I don't like this type of storytelling. People told me not to watch JoJo's because they knew someone like me would not enjoy this. And anime fans, don't judge me, but I did watch the dub for this. Sorry, not sorry. If there's a dub, I'm mostly gonna watch the dub unless it's really bad. And while the dub for this isn't actually too bad, it was very cheesy and definitely made it a bit more surface level. Especially being from the UK too, the first episode definitely had me cringing. Please, not all of us talk like that unless you're Boris Johnson or something. So first impressions. This just felt silly and goofy and it's not really something I'm normally into, but in saying that, I didn't actually turn it off. I couldn't tell you why, but for some reason I did keep watching, more because I wanted to give it a chance, but the art style itself may have been one of the most interesting art styles I've actually ever seen. Probably ever in an animated show. Samurai Jack is getting his run for his money. The first part is just visually pleasing, and I mean all of the parts are really. But when going into this anime just looked beautiful. The color palette was super bright and it was super rare to even see the same colors used twice when it comes to certain characters. The art style was just super unique and pretty to look at. I was watching Invincible while watching JoJo's, and JoJo just made me look at Invincible's art style and animation like it was absolute dog water. Another reason what made me keep watching was probably my ability to accept this surface level writing. By 10 minutes in, you could tell this type of storytelling was a deliberate choice, and this was something written in the 80s, so I thought I'd go a bit easy on it. I thought, hey, let me let go of my critical mind and just enjoy it for what it is. Earlier in the video I said this isn't a review because giving this a critical review would honestly feel too harsh. Not to say I don't have my critiques though. So the story is just rather simple in part 1. Our main character Jojo is a regular England boy who has a rivalry with our antagonist villain Dio. The end. It really is just that simple. Dio is a real arsehole though. He was on demon time the whole of the first part. The dude was just a complete piece of shit. But here's what did take me by surprise when it came to JoJo's. These characters have powers. I honestly wasn't expecting this really. Hormone. The show gives you supernatural vibes right from the beginning, but the hormone thing really piqued my interest. I didn't think I was watching an anime where characters would actually be throwing hands with each other. Almost like learning about Haki in One Piece, it really changes the direction of the story. Dio requires a monster which gives him evil type powers, basically making him a demigod. While the storytelling is still pretty much surface level, we see our characters get taken on a journey. Jojo starts to realize that this is his destiny, to defeat Dio. It even sounds cheesy trying to explain it to you guys, but it really is just that surface level. Unless it's not, and all of it just flew over my head. But I don't think it's a bad thing. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely not a bad thing. And I'll get more into that a bit more later. He meets some characters along the way which helps with his destiny. While it's clear that these characters are plot devices, they still have some character to him. But I can't say I was a fan of... I actually forgot this person's name while writing the script. The fights were fun to watch too because they were so goofy in part 1. They aren't exactly animated the best, but they still have some funness to him. But in the end, Jojo defeats Dio, story ends with a good ending. That is JoJo's, that is the foundation of JoJo's for the most part. And I loved every moment of it. Part 1, the best way to describe it is that it's a fun little watch. 9 episodes, didn't overstay its welcome, and it's just beautiful to look at. And I found it a little funny as well, mainly because it was so exaggerated. And a number of things I recognized because of the internet memes was actually insane. I had no idea that was the ending theme from JoJo's. Of course not the song, but the whole to be continued screen. I'd seen that many times before. By the end of JoJo's part 1, I was in love with the song Roundabout by Yes. So I originally wanted to talk about JoJo's part by part and run them in order, but to be honest, I think it's probably best to leave that for another video, otherwise we'll be here all day. But I'll probably do that when part 6 is finished. For now, we'll just look at JoJo's as a whole. Now that we spoke about the foundation of JoJo's, how do the other parts actually build upon it? Well, story-wise, it doesn't really do too much to the main story. The main story is very much character versus villain. Expect that if you're going into it. But each part has a different way of telling that story and has different journeys. A lot of the time it just works, but sometimes there are misses in there. But let's talk about the good first. This show gives you some of the most brilliant characters, and I'm really glad for that because with a repetitive story like this, you need other things to carry it. While I do think part 1 side characters are weak, it is a complete opposite of every single other part. There were times where the side characters were actually more entertaining than the main. Even when there are characters that aren't totally exaggerated, they're still pretty entertaining. They all get their own little moments too, they all get enough of their own shine. Certain parts actually doesn't feel like there is a main character. Whether that's a good thing or a flaw, that's entirely up to you, because it is called Jojo Bizzare Adventure, but we'll get to that later. But I honestly fell in love with these characters. I actually struggled to let go of these characters, mainly because I was binging. And that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't recommend binging this. Because adjusting from one set of characters that you spent so much time with, it's going to feel really weird when you're going into the next part, especially when you finish part 3, which is 48 episodes. 48. And in my opinion, part 3 has one of the most interesting characters, but again, I could just be saying that because I spent so much time with them. And I've already explained how every character are so unique looking. None of them look the same or alike. It's truly drawn out so well, and every part kind of has a different type of art style. One thing I'll give props to is that each part has a completely different vibe. It still has an exaggerated type of storytelling, but each part will have a different type of journey. Part 1 and 2 have a similar way of doing things, while the other 3 parts tell it completely differently. But is it consistent? Does each part get better and better? Well, not so much. You could put 1000 JoJo fans in a room and ask them what their favorite part is. You will be starting a war. Each part has some things it does well, while each part has some things it doesn't do so well. So deciding what the best part is completely hard. It's part 4 though. Spoilers incoming. While part 4 probably is one of my favorite parts next to 2, part 5 has one of the best deaths I've ever seen in any media. I don't cry when it comes to media, but part 5, and while part 3 had the best characters, I thought it had the least interesting journey, but the ending was absolutely amazing. Part 3 was one of the ones where I felt like there was no main character specifically. The group right there, they were main characters. Just cool to show Jojo and friends at this point. I'll be honest, I wasn't too crazy for Jono as a character, since to me it felt like he was the face of JoJo's for a little while, and I was expecting a little more, but I don't know. Maybe it was because he didn't really excite me as a character as much, or it's because everyone around him I actually preferred. I thought the JoJo character was supposed to be the main, but some parts felt like he was the side character. And I'll probably speak more on that in a part by part review, but certain JoJo mains kind of felt like they were the least interesting ones. As I said, consistency, yeah, it's all over the place. Expect to be not as excited at certain parts. The music and sound design is something that is spot on though. Most of these openings, art. especially part 5. Never skipped it. When they changed it, I was kind of a sad boy. The voice acting for the English too, other than part 1 sounding a little off and cheesy, it was overall pretty good. There are definitely clear character differences between English and the Japanese, but I think whatever you choose to watch, you'll be absolutely satisfied. Like I said, I'll be going into this more in my part by part review, but this is just my service level 4s and how I felt about JoJo's. In conclusion, I really enjoyed JoJo's. It's silly, it's fun, and I had a good time. While not every part I was excited for, and while certain parts definitely overstay their welcome, I genuinely enjoyed it for the most part. Did I enjoy Jojo's Bizzare Adventure? Yes. Do I think it deserves all the hype? Absolutely. And will I soon be making a video of each part ordering from best to worst? Definitely, expect that in the future.